advertisers.
With me now, the co-chair of New Generation North Dakota, a progressive group here in the area, Ken Story. Ken, first off, thanks for joining me here.
Problem.
You're a proponent of same-sex marriage.
Yes.
During my opening segment, I saw you there have a very visceral reaction to what I was stating. Your thoughts or comments on it?
Well, you know, this is where you got me last time on the polygamy thing. And whenever I hear that, I just can't help but have that kind of reaction.
But why specifically?
Because to liken same-sex marriage to something like polygamy, it's absolutely ridiculous, ludicrous, and it doesn't mean the same thing.
And I'm not making that equation, if you will. All I'm sharing with you is that I think what you said last time as well, and I'm assuming you're going to talk about today, is, Chris, people have a right to marry the people they love, right?
Yes, of course.
So if I'm a polygamist, I'm going to say, well, I love all these people. So what's the distinction between me going out and marrying people that I love versus you marrying?
So you love all these people so you can handle more than one wife, right? Right now, you personally can handle more than one wife. You would do that.
I'm not going to put myself in a polygamist's shoes. All I'm saying is that's going to be, I think, a polygamist, that's going to be their conversations. Look, if you guys can marry a man or a woman can marry a woman, and I love these people because you said it's all about love,
it is.
Then why can I go out and marry multiple partners?
Well, let's be smart about what we're saying here. You know, I refuse to let the term polygamy take away from the victory that we had in Minnesota, or that we have in Minnesota with same-sex marriage. Let me scratch that. Not same-sex, marriage in Minnesota, because it's not same-sex anymore, it's marriage. It's marriage equality in Minnesota.
And it's really not, because I want to get to this with you before we get to your thoughts about Governor Dayton signing on this bill and law. But what's interesting to me, when we had you on last time, we talked about the gentleman with the civil unions. And you said, Chris, I'm not up to civil unions. Even if I have the same legal rights, it has to be defined as marriage for us, for me and my community to be happy. But what's interesting with Minnesota now, they changed it from marriage to civil marriage. So it's not just marriage. So are you happy with that?
I believe that's Representative Fitzsimmons' amendment to the bill, and they changed it from marriage to civil marriage in the Minnesota statute, and also changed man and woman to two persons. So I think behind the whole logistics and wording of everything, I am happy with it. Even though it does say civil beforehand, it's marriage, and it applies to everyone.
So it's about equality for you?
Yes.
So if I said to you, okay,
well,
then
equality, you know, I mean, that's a broad term.
So if I said to you, all right, so we're going to scratch all this affirmative action stuff.
Okay.
You okay with that?
Well, I think that affirmative action is a completely different type of game. Myself personally, as a Democrat, affirmative action's not really on top of my
But that's about
political
equality.
radar.
That's
yes,
about...
I believe that people, like companies and businesses, should have a plethora of people representing different types of groups. However, these people need to stand on their own merits.
But can you see how people, and I want you to help explain this, because I think people see it and they go, well, Ken, you're sitting there saying it's all about love, but it's not okay for polygamists. Then you're saying it's all about equality, but it's not okay for affirmative action. It seems inconsistent to me personally.
It's very consistent. And what it comes back to is when people, even when you were bringing up the marriage, the definition of marriage is the same. Marriage is still between a man and a woman, but now it's also legal in Minnesota to be legal between a man and a woman and a woman.
So how's that the same?
It is. It hasn't changed.
It
hasn't changed.
But now you're adding on man and man, woman and woman into this
problem?
definition. I'm not saying there's a problem. I'm just saying you're saying it's the same, and I don't think it is the same.
It's the same.
How can it be the same when if I'm married to a woman, I can go out and procreate, but a man and a man can't procreate, nor can a woman or woman? Again, that's different. How is it the same?
A man and a man can't procreate, but we can provide a loving and supportive household as equal to that of a man and a woman. Studies have been shown across the United States that children that are raised in a same-sex marriage home do equally as good as those that aren't. And you know what? There are a lot of, if you want to go into, you know, the whole thing about children, there are a lot of people, there are a lot of children out there that need families.
I don't deny that. But you and I both know that there's not enough longitudinal evidence to make the claim that you just made that, hey, Chris, we know that a man and a woman family can give the exact same upbringing or whatever as a man and a man or a woman or a woman.
Guess what? I came from a broken home too, so.
So have I. Yeah. But again, I'm just talking about for you to make the statement, hey, research shows there's not enough longitudinal research
shows
to demonstrate
from both ends, so we can just exchange barbs back and forth.
Well, let's talk about this. Let me ask you this, and we can bring up this VO for a second, but when you saw Governor Dayton signing the same-sex marriage bill, as you can see here, just kind of walk us through your emotions. I mean, what did you feel when you saw this?
It was history. I mean, you know, I don't want to sit here and take credit for him actually sitting there, because I'm not a Minnesota resident. But, you know, for the Minnesotans United for All Families, especially the field organizer that was here, Trista Schwind, they worked completely hard for this. And the people that were supportive, and they carried momentum. What started out as a really horrible marriage amendment ended up coming back and biting them in the tail end.
But I like how you use the word victory. I think many people, obviously, in the gay community, in many communities, are not seeing that as a victory. One of the things you mentioned about families and the ability to bring up kids just as well, or whether it's male, male, female, female, or a male and a female. I want to share with you a quote from Rupert Everett recently that he mentioned, obviously a very famous actor. He says, this man is gay, he says, I couldn't think of anything worse. Pretty strong statement, again, worse than being brought up by two dads. He took a lot of heat from the gay community. I want to get your thoughts and comments on that.
Well, of course. You know, sometimes when people say things or speaking out on behalf of the community, not necessarily on behalf, you know, we don't want to associate ourselves with that quote no more than Christians want to be associated with the Westboro Baptist Church as a religious institution. And honestly, when I heard that quote, honestly, I would hear less crap if somebody broke wind in my ear, because that stands against everything that our community has been fighting for.
Anything else you want to say?
No.
We're going to keep Ken for your feedback for the next segment. So if you've got specific questions maybe for Ken, or thoughts or comments, please go ahead and text us at the phone number. Obviously, you see the bottom of your screen. You can email us as well. As you can see here, 630-POV at valleynewslive.com. Stay with us. Much more coming up right here on 630 Point of View.